Good evening and welcome to our iThirst Thursday. This is our wellness discussion that we're having this evening as a part of our Bible study series. And we're talking about um, topics that are related to our overall wellness. One thing about the well that I intend for this ministry to be, is a ministry that speaks to every aspect of our being. And so, really excited tonight to have an amazing guest that will come and share with us. But I want to make sure that you know that you are free to share this with anyone that you think may benefit from it. We're live now, but even the replay, if there's someone in your life that you think may benefit from hearing this discussion around our mental health, our wellness, as that pertains to our spirituality and our walk as believers, make sure that you share this. I want you to make sure that you also join us every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time for prayer. Every morning, every Thursday morning, our Thankful Thursday prayer call, where we get a devotional and prayer just to start our day on Thursdays. There are times where it's just me sharing with you, and I love doing that. But then also we have guests that come and share with us who have been amazing throughout the months that we've been able to share. So looking forward to having you with us for Thankful Thursday as well as iThirst Thursday. We share those dates. If you need information regarding any of what we're doing at the well, make sure you visit us at thewelllife.com. At thewelllife.com is where all of the information regarding Bible study, regarding prayer, regarding anything that we have going on is posted. So make sure that you get to our website. There's also a place on the website where you can get our text message alerts and email, share your information, and we'll be glad to connect with you and stay connected with you on all that we're doing and have going on. Want to take some time to introduce our guest properly. Is an amazing longtime friend of mine and sister in ministry, but I want to share a little bit of her background so you understand her credentials as it pertains to this particular conversation. I want to begin with prayer, do the introductions, and then we're going to have this discussion. And if you have questions, you are more than welcome to add questions to the YouTube chat. And we'll do our best to make sure that we address those questions that you may have coming up. Okay, so this is a discussion. I'll be asking some questions, and it's a conversation. So if you have questions, raise your questions in the YouTube chat. We'll be more than happy to address them with you or for you as we can. Okay, so I want to give a proper introduction to our guest. Reverend Felicia Poe, PhD, is a trailblazing counselor, consultant, and life coach who has held numerous leadership roles across Kentucky, Ohio, and Texas, with a rich background in youth ministry and leadership oversight, community strategy, and implementation. Her unwavering commitment to service and leadership extended to her position as the first woman ordained as an elder at the Mount Pisgah Church in Dayton, Ohio in 2012. Over the last 20 years as the founder and CEO of I Love You movement, Dr. Felicia channels her passion for mental health and communal kindness in tangible action. The movement, initiated by a life-saving hug, has blossomed into a global mission with over 5,000 supporters advocating for love and connection. Additionally, through the Wellspace Collective, Dr. Felicia leads efforts in mental health advocacy and holistic well being, offering counseling, coaching, and consulting to empower individuals in their mental health journeys. Dr. Poe's academic credentials include a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Wilberforce University, a Master's in Arts from the United Theological Seminary here in Dayton, and a doctorate of philosophy and biblical counseling from Rhema College of Theology International. Sought after speaker and advocate, Dr. Felicia is dedicated to advancing emotional intelligence and suicide prevention, impacting lives across all groups. So I'm really excited to have an amazing guest that brings a wealth of knowledge and experience and insights as it pertains to mental health advocacy, suicide prevention, and holistic well-being, and all of this being an anchor of her steadfast faith and dedication and compassion to society and in her walk with Christ. Will you help me salute my sister as we welcome Dr. Poe to the well? Dr. Poe, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to have you again. We had you for prayer, I think it was a month or so ago, and we're so
Mhm.
excited to be able to dive into this particular subject with you.
Yes.
Would love for you, I know I read your bio, but would love for you to share a little bit about why mental health and holistic well being is so important to you and why you have made it a focus of your life work.
Yeah, my story is I am one that dealt with suicidal ideation and attempt, multiple attempts. Because of that, it was a moment where I had actually written my letters and had wanted them to be found by anybody who was willing to look for me. And in that time and in that moment, I was just needing a hug. That's what I needed. I needed a hug and felt like the only way I could get that would be to get to heaven as
Mm,
fast as I could. And on the day after struggling with this for almost 15 years, on the day that I shut my locker so hard to embed that sound in my brain, uh, I turned around in the hallway of my high school only to receive a hug on the same
mm,
day that that would be my final attempt. And that hug changed the trajectory of my life in totality. I tore up all the letters. And from that time forward, God has had me on a total mission where I Love You, the movement was birthed. And I have just been passing out hugs and saying, I love you to people just so that they know that they are not alone. So that is where my mental health journey started with me. And now it is something that is moved into a movement because
mhm,
love is meant to move from one heart
mhm.
to the next. So
Right.
we just share love from our heart to others, and you'd be surprised how many people say, "I've not been told I love you," or "I haven't received a hug in a long time."
Wow. I think it is I think we take for granted how much those small gestures
Yeah.
really mean to someone that is in need of
Hmm.
love. And I want to talk to you about because this is a community of faith.
Yes.
As you well know, you are a preacher, a teacher, all of
Yes.
the things,
Yes, ma'am.
and have, to my knowledge, had a knowledge of Christ and a walk with Christ for quite some time.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
grew up in the church, and you all of the things. And one of the things that I have heard over the years, which I
Hmm.
think is to some extent a fallacy, is that there is no way that you could be depressed or have anxiety or deal with suicide ideation if you are really a child of God or if you're really saved, all of the
Hmm.
things. So I want you to help me to debunk that, because that is something that I think people battle with, whether or not they are actually even saved, if they've had thoughts of suicide ideation, or if they deal with
Hmm.
depression, or if they deal
Hmm.
with challenging thoughts.
Hmm.
So help me to debunk that a little bit, Dr. Poe, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to debunk it because we are people of faith and persons of faith. I'm going to debunk it starting from the pulpit to the pew to the parking lot. The pastor may not be equipped, sir, ma'am, to handle the mental health crisis that you're seeing in your church, and it's okay. Be understanding to yourself to know the pastoral care and mental health care are two separate entities. And it's
Mm,
okay to see the separation and the division. It's not division in church, it's allowing that person to find the resources and have the help that they need. Now, what I've often said is, the church can give you methods on how to hope, but mental health services and providers who are trained give you opportunity to learn how to cope. So with hoping and coupled with coping, you're able to see a dynamic increase of how you handle your distress, how you handle depression, how you handle anxiety, how you handle moments of transition, how you handle grief. The pastor may even need their own counselor. Being able to identify yourself as one in need. I myself have therapy. I have a therapist and have been for quite a long time. And we have to understand that when we release ourselves to the good medicine that has been provided for us from God, the person that created the medicine didn't create it on their own. They had to have some inspiration from somewhere. And if we say knowledge is from God, then they had to have that passed down from somewhere. And if we are women and persons and men of faith, we're saying it came from somewhere. So
Mhm.
if God has placed that mind inside of the man or woman to be able to create this medicine to help us just get back in balance. It's okay. Nobody's saying you have to be there for your entire life. No one is saying that you have to take this medication or even be in therapy your entire life. However, there are moments we just need to talk it out, and we need to talk it out with a strategist that can support our mental and can support also with you as the pastoral care provider, supporting our spiritual. So if
Mhm.
we can walk these things together, we'll do a lot better as a community
Mhm.
because we're no longer putting ourselves into a bucket of not handling the threefold ministry of self, which
Yeah,
is mind, body, and spirit.
that's good. So, Dr. Poe, what I heard you say is that in order for us to effectively debunk the thought process that we can't be spiritually connected to Christ or in God and also struggle with the mental aspects of depression or suicide ideation, is that we have to couple our hope,
Yes,
our faith,
yes,
with skills to cope with the
that's right.
mental challenges that come with it.
That's
And
right.
so we have our spirituality, but we also have aspects of our mental health
Mental. Yes,
that are not in opposition with each other, but that can work together with each other. But we have to know who has the skill to deal
that's right.
with which part of that we need to have. That's excellent. Thank you so
That's
much.
it. Yes,
What
ma'am.
role? I have a question for you. What
Mhm.
role does spirituality play in our mental health as believers?
Yeah, I mean, spirituality is absolutely a strong point. And the main reason why is because God tells us to have a sound mind and operate in peace. So if He's telling us that we are supposed to have these things, then they are ours. But sometimes life can get us down. And we
Might be
need to
like
be able, yeah, life be lifing, but guess what? God can be guiding,
that
but
part.
He can be guiding through a mental health professional.
Yes,
and
yes.
so and so our relationship with God is not stretched in a negative way because we need help. I kind of look at it this way. um if you do, you like Kool-Aid, sis? Do you like Kool-Aid?
I'm sorry, I do not like
You don't
Kool-Aid.
like Kool-Aid? Let
I
me
don't.
see. Okay, well, do you know
And
how to
that's so
make
sad because
Kool-Aid?
I grew up in the hood, and that's a staple in the hood, but I do not like
It's
Kool-Aid.
a staple. Well, do you know how to make it at least?
I do, I do, I do, I do.
Okay, okay. Well, imagine our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our mind, body, and spirit being a pitcher of Kool-Aid that's this tall. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if you've got the Kool-Aid packet, you don't drink it, but if you were making Kool-Aid for your family, what
Uh-huh.
color Kool-Aid would you make?
Bread.
Yeah, okay. So we in here, we in here. So
Yeah,
we
right.
got so we've added the red packet of Kool-Aid and we've put too much water in it
Mm,
to even add the sweetener, right?
mhm. Right.
So what do we do if we've got too much water to even add the sugar?
Mm.
Because what does the sugar do? The sugar makes it sweet and palatable, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
sugar makes it taste good. So otherwise you just have colored water.
Colored
So
water.
imagine, if you will, your spirit being full and colored in whatever way, in anxiety and depression, in suicidal ideation, in suicidal attempt, in all of these things that are going on with your life, and it's filled to the brim. You see hope because it's colored in a way that you love, but
Mhm.
you can't add, oh, taste and see that He's good, because
My
it's too
goodness,
full to the top.
my
So what
goodness.
you have to do is you have to pour out some of the water. You have to
Mhm,
pour out some of the anxiety. You've got to pour out some of the things that are hurting you, the trauma, the
mhm.
drama, or whatever it is. You've got to pour it out. And you can't just pour it out anywhere. You got to pour it out with somebody who can catch it. And
Ah,
when they catch it, then you got somebody that can put the sugar in it. And
come on.
now the sugar starts to mix with the trauma and the drama that you're starting to heal. And
Mhm,
now your life starts to feel better. So that's if we can look at that again, it is about a mind, body, and spirit. It
Mhm,
is a mind, body, and spirit, mind, body, and soul. And when we get those things working in tandem, we're
mhm.
pouring out the old to become new creatures, but we can't become new creatures unless we're willing to release some of the stuff that's got us troubled.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so
So
good. And
God.
I think we have become, as a people, when I say as a people, predominantly
Hmm.
I'm referring to people of color, right?
Hmm.
As people of
Hmm.
color, we've been trained,
Hmm.
we have been programmed to function through dysfunction, right? Uh,
Yes,
we don't share,
absolutely.
right? What happens in
Hmm.
the house stays in the house. We don't
Yes.
share, and you have to be strong and resilient, especially
Hmm.
as women. We have to be strong, resilient, and bounce
Hmm.
back. What are the ways in which that harms us, Dr. Poe?
You know,
Those tropes, those stereotypes, and those kinds of thought processes about who we have to be.
yeah. Well, who says you have to be that?
There you go.
You know,
Hmm.
we have to get to the point to where we are unlearning the things that we've learned when we have learned something new.
My God.
And we
Yes.
have to be willing to allow our faith to be the chief cornerstone of who we
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
and add whatever the Holy Spirit tells us to use to guard our heart.
That's
And
good.
if guarding our heart means um, taking away the ability and the need to be hurt to be loved, or
Mm,
taking away the ability to hold it in on the inside so that nobody thinks I'm less than. I'm not a man if I don't cry. Or I'm not a man if I cry, rather. Those are some of those black community stigmas that we have to get rid of. And as
mhm.
we're slowly coming to the other side of them, we're slowly starting to see men and women and generations being healed. But it's
Yeah.
not until we recognize that when I shed tears, the Bible tells us that he collects those tears and put them in a crown of glory for us. So
Mm,
why are we denying ourselves the very things that God has already told us and promised for us if and by using a natural system that
mhm.
is already not for us?
My God. My God. So you
I love
helping today,
laughing.
sis. You helping. I'm processing as you talking. That's good. So it's really about a relearning, a reprogramming.
Yes,
And I think it is, and as we again, as we talk as people of faith, it is a matter of who God says we are versus what people say we should be.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and that is difficult. I think the longer in life we live with
That is true.
those types of thought processes, the more challenging it becomes to undo. But
Yeah,
the undoing is so very necessary for
necessary.
healing. So talk
Yes.
about the process of, and we didn't really dive into this in some of our preparation, but if you can, dive into the importance of the undoing of the trauma and the things that we collect over our lifetime, from our childhood trauma to some of the things we experience in relationship, and how the true healing process really requires an undoing, if you will.
Yeah, I'll answer it like this. One of the number one questions I get is it talks about balance. How do I balance my life? How do I have balance? I've got so many things going on. I've got these things on the inside that I can't talk about, but I also have mommyhood. I've got daddyhood, fatherhood, but I've got mommy issues and I got daddy issues. How do I juggle all this? Sometimes it's not about balance. It is what we have to understand. It is about sometimes we are assigned to it or we're associating it. And
Mm,
we have to then take the time to say, God, where is my season of seeing you?
mhm.
Because we have gotten into a place where we're walking dead. We're
Yeah.
walking and we're asleep. We talk about the apocalypse and the zombies coming. Don't worry about that, baby, because we're already here.
Mm,
We're already here. And God is trying to wake us up to understanding that the things that you are going through, they happen to you and they're strengthening you. Yes. Or they may have hurt you.
Mhm.
Yes, but whichever it has done, it's okay to recognize that it has hurt you, and it's
Mhm.
okay to tell you that it's blessed you. But you have to almost take a pros and cons list or take a tick mark and say, okay, this hurt me, this hurt me, this hurt me, this developed me, this hurt me, but it developed me.
Mhm.
It's okay to take that battery of your life. And looking at things like that will allow us to start separating the chaff from the wheat. And
Mhm.
when we start doing that, now we're looking at it from a very responsible place.
Yeah.
And then as we are uncovering and unpacking and allowing someone to unpack with us, what'll start to happen, sis, is as the separation is happening, God will blow that fresh Ruha breath on us and the chaff is blowing away. And
Yeah.
what happens is our inners are starting to line up because, like we were talking about earlier, that mind, body, and spirit is supposed to walk in tandem. It's supposed to walk in concert with each other. Why?
Mhm.
Because that's how the spirit is in threes. Ourselves are in threes. It
Mhm.
is supposed to walk in tandem. And
Mhm.
if our mind is somewhere else, our body is going to follow, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
our heart is somewhere else, our body's gonna follow. We have to
Mhm.
understand that God is trying to put all of this stuff back in alignment.
In
So
alignment.
going back to our balancing act, sometimes we're balancing stuff that God said you're not even supposed to be associated with.
Message, that's the one right there.
Go
That's the one
God.
right there. And let's not forget the fact that, again, like you said in your analogy with the Kool-Aid and needing to pour out and needing someone to pour in, sometimes it requires someone outside of yourself to help you to
Okay.
see
Yeah.
that you're balancing things that you don't need to balance, right?
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
you know what? I would say is most important because we're biased to ourselves. We're
Mhm.
biased to what we feel, what we think, what we hear, how we filter. We're biased to all of that. We're biased to someone telling you hi. And if you're not having a good day, oh, they insulted me.
Mm.
Or somebody walking past you because they had a bad day. Oh, they're being rude to me. We filter all that stuff. So, yes, we need an objective party that can sit no different than Matthew tells us. If someone has hurt you, you bring a third party. You
Yeah.
bring someone else to the conversation who doesn't have skin in the game that
Yeah.
can help you see from a different perspective what it is that you're going through. That's all that a counselor does. That's all that a
Mhm.
therapist does. That's all that a pastor should be doing, is
Right.
providing that care and that level of support that reminds you that you're not by yourself.
That's good. That's good. What are the ways that we can walk alongside each other? So, you having dealt with
Mhm.
suicide ideation and you having been through some of these challenges and traumas, obviously, when you shared your story, you talked about that hug or someone telling you,
Yeah,
I love you, being
yeah.
the thing that literally saved your life.
Saved my life.
Right.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned that, I dealt with this more than once. What are some of
Absolutely.
the ways or what are some of the things that people did that helped you to make a different decision than the one you were intent on making when you wrote your letters and saying this is it,
Yeah.
when you made preparation for that being it? What are
Hmm.
some of the ways that people supported you or made you feel like life was worth living? Because I think, some of us may not be in that space of dealing with it personally, but we
Hmm.
may know people. We may have children that are dealing with it because God
Yes.
knows the statistics regarding
Our
children
babies.
and suicide
Yes.
ideation is crazy. And I think it
Hmm.
has to do with a lot of dynamics, including social media and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But what are the ways that we can be of support? Because I think sometimes we have good intentions, but
Yeah.
our intentions don't always translate to what it is a person needs to really be encouraged and strengthened in those moments of challenge and difficulty.
No, that is a beautiful question. And if there's anybody online, I'm going to ask you to say this. Say the word suicide. Sis, go ahead and say the word suicide.
Suicide.
And anybody, write it in the chat. Do what you need to do. So many people are afraid of that word. Depression. We're afraid of these words because we feel like they're labels, but some people are really going through. people are really sad and don't know how to come out of their darkness. So
Mm,
being able to ask the question, are you suicidal, is valuable. It's valuable because if you can come to me and be real with what I'm dealing with, I might
mhm,
not go through with what I'm dealing with
mm,
because I'm no longer walking this thing out in shame. Right
mm,
now, I'm in shame because of my life. I'm in shame because my life is in shambles. And I'm in shame because nobody understands what I'm going through. But if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, sis, I kind of see you struggling. Are you depressed? Go ahead. What is it that you're going through? Is there any way that I can help you? Go ahead and just be present. You may not even be able to need to say anything. Sometimes just your presence
mhm,
merely can change the situation. But if you see somebody that's absolutely struggling, ask them the question. Don't be afraid of it
mhm,
because it is I'll say our. I was afraid to say it. I was afraid to
mm,
tell anybody that I was going through it.
mm,
But when I finally understood what I was going through, I was able to relearn. When I finally understood what I was going through, I was able to relearn. So be present, be vulnerable to yourself by being present, asking the question, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Let them sit there, let them answer the question. If they need support, if they need help, remind them that seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness of your faith. That is a
mhm,
sign of strength because God is our strength. And He has put people in place who are trained. He has put the information into people to support you through this. I remember when my aunt, she supported me by calling 911.
mm.
She supported me by calling 911.
Wow.
You can support your family member by simply calling 988. If you are 911 is for emergencies when there is an absolute emergency going on. But if there is a crisis, a mental health crisis, you can call the 988 number. And that number is for persons that are supporting someone in crisis or you yourself in crisis. You can text
Mhm,
that number, you can call that number, and you can actually sit with a trained professional right then and right there and they will teach you and they will, excuse me, walk through the process of getting the help that you need in that moment. Again, whether you are a caregiver, whether you are a supporter, you call 988 and you just say, hey, I'm sitting with somebody who's in crisis, mental health crisis right now, and I don't know what to do. And then they'll just ask you questions. They'll ask you questions. What do you see? What is this? What is that? And they can walk you through the process. And that's how you be present. Just be present. Don't
mhm,
leave them alone.
mhm,
Hand them off to someone. That's what I'll say. Hand them off to someone if you can. Hand them off to their family member. Hand them off to a caregiver, a mental provider. Take them to the hospital, whatever needs to be done. Just don't leave them alone if they have mentioned suicidal ideation or attempt.
That's good. That's good. I like the approach that because I think we need more of this. This not being afraid to call a thing, right?
Yes.
Not
Hmm.
being not being afraid to call a thing a thing. So literally asking somebody, have you thought of hurting yourself? Is a one.
Absolutely.
Are
Absolutely.
you depressed? Do you have these symptoms? I
Hmm.
think that is the best way to deal with things head on. Sometimes we're
Yeah.
afraid to deal with things head on, but that is the best methodology for us to be able to help people in need.
Hmm.
It is there any distinction would you share? Because I think you also shared you were relatively young when you experienced this for the first time. Is
Hmm.
there any distinction in dealing with youth as it pertains to this matter?
No, we
No.
all need help.
Mhm.
None.
Okay.
People are people. And like I had to learn about my father well late in life. It was
Mhm.
like, wow, my father's just a big kid with age. We're
Mhm.
all just kids with age.
Mhm.
And I learned that from my father because I'm like, he's so fun. You look at your parents, you're like, they're so mean. It was like, no, my
Right.
father's fun. He's just a big kid with age.
Right.
And that age starts somewhere. It has a starting point.
Yeah.
And no matter the spectrum of 0 to 100 or 100 plus, you're
Mhm.
going to have some type of pain that you're going to deal with. Now, all of them don't require us to go to a therapist. All of
Yeah.
them don't foresee us to see a counselor. We're not
Hmm.
going to run down our pastor every time we have an ache in our heart, because
Hmm.
sometimes it just needs prayer and discipline to get
Hmm.
through what we're getting through. But
Right.
other times it does require just a little bit more attention to the
Yeah.
matter, whether
That's
we're watching our children at age 5 or 6 struggling with the passing of a pet, or passing with the of a parent, or grieving something. And what we have to also understand is that grief comes in all shapes and forms. I could
hmm
be grieving the life loss, as well as a job loss,
hmm
as well as a scholarship loss, as well as a friend loss. I can grieve all of these things the exact same and be
hmm
hurt the exact same way. So what we don't want to do is dismiss anyone when they say that they're in pain or they're grieving. Don't dismiss it.
That's good.
If you are unable to handle it, let's find somebody who can. That's all we're saying. Operate in a spirit of love, because if God is love and we are men and women of God, let's find someone to love on them. That's all it is. Find a resource to help them feel presently loved in the moment of their despair.
That's good. I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to transition a little bit. Um, we are different. We're dealing with a really challenging climate in our country as it
Hmm.
pertains to the political,
Yeah.
governmental structure, and all of the things that are impacting people. People are losing jobs. People are
Yeah.
losing health care. People are in financial distress. People are dealing with all sorts of fallout as a result of what we're dealing with this particular administration. And it is we are bombarded by
Yeah.
all of this on a daily
Hmm.
basis
Hmm.
through the news, through our social media news feed, all of the things. And I want to talk about, because we're dealing with a lot of transition and change. I think
Hmm.
from the election until now, there's
Hmm.
just been almost rapid change in what is occurring in the lives of people and how is it impacting people. I want to talk a little bit about how or what you would recommend in terms of dealing with transition, be it personal or be it just the transitioning that's happening around us, the change that is happening around us. And I would even venture to say that there is a degree of divisiveness attached to it as pertains to
Yeah.
our relationships with people that
Hmm.
we're in relationship with, that we're family members
Hmm.
with, that we have worship with or fellowshipped in some way. Because we don't all think the same. We don't all
That's
believe,
right.
even though we all say we're Christians.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there is a
That's fair.
polarization of people
Hmm.
as it pertains to our views on everything. But
Hmm.
being that people are so challenged and dealing with what is happening and what is occurring, and it is grievous, quite to be quite
Yeah.
frank. What
Yeah.
are some of the ways that you think that it is best for us to deal with what we're dealing with as it pertains to all of the change and transition in the atmosphere, and or if it's on a personal level? I know that's
Yeah.
loaded, but
No, it's a very clear question. And one thing I would say is unplug. You don't have to watch every cycle of news. You don't have to watch every Facebook post. You don't have to, because Facebook is, and the Instagram and the Facebook and the thread and the TikTok and all of that stuff is intentional. So
mhm,
when you're scrolling, you have to intentionally push something that is politically biased, or biased, and I say biased on one side or the other. You have, or maybe I should say politically based or
mm,
politically charged. Um, so we have to intentionally push those things. Scroll past it if you know it's going to bring you anxiety. Scroll past it. Roll past it if it's going to cause you to go down a path of bewilderment for where the State of the Union is. Don't allow yourself to be force fed information that your spirit can't handle in the moment.
my lord, that's good.
That's all I got, sis. That's all I got.
Point blank, period. Unplug. That's the answer. That's the answer.
Period.
But what we can unplug, but and that gives us a temporary.
A temporary, yes.
It gives us a temporary relief from it. And I think sometimes we need to take advantage of those temporary opportunities to unplug and say,
Mhm.
enough is enough, right?
Enough is enough.
But as it
Yeah.
pertains to the realities of what people are dealing with,
Oh, gotcha.
I know people personally that are attached to this ministry that work in government, and they're like, there's just such chaos at work. People are
Yeah.
on edge at work. They don't know
Yeah.
what's next. They don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Friends of mine that work in government in other states and cities, they're just so much. As it pertains to that, how do we guard our mind and our heart, Dr. Poe? How do we do that? What would you suggest? I know we can do the unplugging, and that's
Mhm.
good. But when we step away from that and deal with the realities of it, what more would you recommend or suggest as a means of being able to really, like you said, cope with what
Yeah.
we're dealing with?
Yeah, unplugging first is for first and foremost because sometimes it goes back to that picture. If we're looking at politics, we got
Hmm.
to pour out some things to put new stuff in.
Yeah.
And so after we've unplugged, how about let's go read a book, go
That's
read the Bible,
good.
go meditate. We don't meditate enough and
That's good.
allow God to heal us in our areas of plight.
Hmm.
There's some things that we can be doing for self that can, God's like, look, that's going on over here. I got this. I need you to work on you,
Yeah.
but at the same time, go to take advantage of EAP services, your employment
Hmm.
assistant program. Go take advantage. If you are really struggling at work, go take advantage of the services where you are just downloading to someone your grief, downloading to someone who
Hmm.
cares about you, what you are going through in that moment. And if it's not with EAP, that's finding a counselor that fits you and your spirit and your mind and where you're trying to go in your healing journey. And allow yourself to download what it is that you're going through because the one thing you do not want to do is to let that stuff sit in there and fester. That's what
Yeah.
you don't want to do. You don't let
Mhm,
it sit in there and fester. The word of God tells us to pray for our leadership.
mhm,
Instead of focusing on the leadership, pray for the leadership
mhm,
and then go and pray for yourself and
mhm,
then go seek help so that you're not suffering in silence with what you are seeing, what you are feeling, how you are grieving, work loss, people being fired at a moment's notice. That is scary. That
mhm,
is unsettling and unnerving. So find a support group, build a support group of people that are willing to be vulnerable and can go through that with you.
mhm,
Find at your church, create a support group of people that just work in government employment. Somebody find, create a government support group and say, and become the leader of that group that says, look, I'm not doing well. How are you processing this? I ain't processing it well either. All right, let's talk and let's grab anybody else that may not be doing well. And let's grab a couple people that are doing okay.
yeah,
As long as we can support each other in a neutral space, pull
mhm,
in a counselor at times or go to lunch and have these debrief moments so that you're able to live another day
mhm.
emotionally, spiritually, socially, physically, and you're not triumphed by what you're seeing and experiencing every moment of the day.
That's good. So what I hear you say is communication and community. Those are the keys.
Communication and community. That's excellent. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's
That's
good
good.
because I don't think we feel the permission. I don't think we feel free to be able to communicate our thoughts
Mhm.
and feelings as much as we should.
Yeah.
So that's so critical to our journey. And then finding people that you
Hmm.
can connect with on the same level. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Poe, I have a couple more questions that I want to ask to you,
Hmm.
and I think that it is worth addressing. How does faith itself help us to cope with some of the challenges that we have mentally? What does faith do for us? I know there's research out there that
Hmm.
indicates that people of faith have happier lives, or there's a lot of research attached to it. But how does faith help us?
Yeah. Faith just simply reminds us that God's plans are to prosper us and not to harm us.
Hmm.
Faith reminds us that all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose.
Hmm.
Faith tells us that I'm not alone, and God is always with me. Faith tells us that we are supposed to exhort one another and come together and build each other up. So that going back to that commitment and of community and commitment of communication, in order to understand that our paths and our journeys of healing are to prosper us to a good health. Like John says, I just got it open here. It says, I pray that all may go well with you, that you may be in
That's our
good
text
health.
tonight,
Yes.
y'all.
Oh, good. Go God.
Right?
Just as it is well with your soul. You know, believing and experiencing and understanding that mental health challenges don't lack your faith. They support, yeah, you're supported in your faith. And it's important to understand that seeking help doesn't make you weak. God is our helper. So if he's our helper, and if God is saying, I'm the wonderful counselor, why are we unable to talk to a counselor? You know, we got him
That's good.
and we got counselors. So why are
Right.
we so up in opposition of the very thing that he is? Now,
Mm,
the thing is, find one that fits.
yeah,
If that one don't fit, don't stop searching. Don't
that's
stop
good.
looking. Don't
Hmm.
stop going. Always, I use this analogy when it comes to finding a counselor. Have you ever worn a pair of shoes, sis? And anybody on the chat, have you ever worn a pair of shoes that didn't they looked amazing in the store when you tried them on? You put in the mirror,
Hmm.
you pranced, you got home, and they were not.
This
They
one
weren't of
not, this
God.
one right,
They
this
were
one right,
not. They weren't it.
right,
You took them back to the store, right?
right. You got the right size, another
And got the
size.
right size, color, or just took them back all together and got a new
Right,
shoe.
right.
But you didn't stop wearing shoes, did you? Just
No,
because it
no.
didn't fit.
Right. Find one
And
that
that's
fits.
find one that fits. And that's what we have to do with counselors. Find one that fits. Everybody ain't gonna match you. And that's because everybody's human. We are vessels of God trying to pour out to God's people. That's all we are. And
Hmm.
everybody may not be your cup of tea. Don't drink from the cup, but find a
Hmm.
cup that can be drank from.
That's it. That's
And
it.
get what you need so that you can live this life with a smile again and
Hmm.
not be so dimmed by what this world is causing you to be dimmed by. So
Yeah.
just find your fit.
Find your
Mhm.
fit. That's good. I like that. Find your fit. Find your fit. So as it pertains to, we talked about how faith helps us to cope as well. And I love all of the scriptural references you brought out. And really the focus of this whole discussion is 3 John 2, right? Where
Mhm.
he says, I pray that you be prosperous and in health, even as your
Yes.
soul prospers. And so
Yes.
sometimes I think in church we focus on the spirituality, the soul prospering, but we don't
Mhm.
always focus on uh, our, our 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 physical and our
Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
prosperity, and what that means and what that adds to our experience in life. So I'm grateful for your explanation on that. And I wanted to talk about a little bit more about um, as it pertains to again, we talked about suicide ideation and some of the ways that that can impact us, even if we are believers, if we don't do the
Mhm.
work for our mental health, and the
Yes.
importance of finding a good counselor. But there's also the other component where you talked about in the beginning. Hey, the pastor has a set of tools to work with. The,
Mhm.
the the mental health professional has a set of tools to work with, and I think it's equally important to have the correct fit as it pertains to a pastor, because
Absolutely.
sometimes we are sitting under leadership, and I witness, okay, somebody, I'm
Mhm.
talking from experience. Sometimes we can
Witness.
sit under leadership that
Uh-huh.
further damages our mental health.
Damages.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
toxic leadership,
Mhm.
manipulative leadership, all of those
Mhm.
things really can, even the space of faith, impact our mental health.
Mhm.
Can you
Absolutely.
talk about that a little bit? I don't know if you have had any sort of experience in that realm, but really, just when you say find your fit, that doesn't just pertain to finding the right counselor, but also
Mm-mm.
the right faith community and
Yeah.
leadership that is really going to aid your journey in your mental health.
Absolutely. I won't speak to anything specific, but I will co-sign what you're saying.
Hmm.
By this way, if there is a toxic relationship in your life, be it pastoral, parental, relational, friendship, platonic. Um, I was getting ready to name something else just to have another ick on it, but it didn't work. It didn't work
You was
fast
on the
enough.
road. You was on the
I
road,
was on the
sis.
roll. I felt it. I felt it. My rhythm was there, but I lost one. So, uh, but any type of relationship that we're in, sometimes we put it on. Okay, I'm in a toxic marriage, but don't realize we have toxic pastors,
Mm,
or we have toxic pastors and don't realize we are the toxic friend.
come on,
You know,
somebody.
there is toxicity in any level of relationship, and we have to check ourselves often, because you may not think you're the problem in the mirror, but look
Hmm.
at you as a common denominator if there's
Hmm.
a lot of variables that are affected the same way.
That's
And
good.
so, um, be courageous enough to exit any room and any table
Come
that has
on.
been set before you that is no longer serving you.
That's the
And
word.
I mean,
That's
come
the
on,
word.
y'all. Come on, y'all. We're
Exit.
falling up because we're falling apart because we're eating poison and we're choosing to.
Mm,
We're saying God is preparing a table before me in the presence of my enemy, and we're looking at the enemy and eating. That's not
Jesus.
healthy. That's not what God wants of us. He
Mm,
wants our cup to overflow, but it can't overflow if the very person that you're trusting in life and partnership, or in life and pastoral care, is
mhm.
choosing to drink the cup before you get to it.
Jesus.
So we have to make sure that we are monitoring all of our relationships
That's
and
good.
monitor ourselves in
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
Hold ourselves accountable the same way you holding them accountable to X,
Mm.
Y, and Z. You hold yourself accountable to A, B, and C as well,
Yeah, that's
because
good.
you ain't cleaning this, but
Yeah.
we're being cleaned in
Right.
this.
Right.
And if you've got damage and they got damage and all God's children got damage,
We
then
do.
then there's going to be some hurt, but maybe you were sent to help them see that they're
Hmm.
hurting people. But
Hmm.
don't get hurt in the process of showing up.
That's good. That's
Don't
good.
get hurt. And if
That's
you are
good.
getting hurt, it's time to remove yourself and be okay with removing yourself. Be
That's good.
okay with having to step away from the table a season or a lifetime and say, may the Lord watch between
Between
me and thee while
that's
we're
it.
absent one from
One from
another.
another. That's it.
Amen.
That's good. Dr. Paul, you preaching good tonight, sis.
Go God, go God.
You preaching good tonight. You got to know when to make an exit from that table that is set before
Yes.
your enemies, because sometimes we're eating the poison set.
Hmm.
And I love the part about personal accountability in the situation, because no
Absolutely.
one is more responsible for our healing, for our mental health journey, for our spiritual walk than ourselves. And
Yes.
sometimes we are good to give ourselves an excuse because it's ourselves. Like you said, we have a personal bias, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah. We'll judge them according to the standard, but we won't judge ourselves according to the standard. I think that's
Absolutely.
so important. What are the
Yes.
I mean, how does one check oneself? Like how do you do that? Is that having a circle of accountability? Is that having
Hmm.
someone to help you to see yourself? Because
Hmm.
sometimes seeing yourself is very difficult because you're up close. And
Hmm.
sometimes you miss things up close that people can see from afar, and vice versa, I think.
Hmm. No, excellent question. First, we have to understand the word where it says, take that plank out your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be looking so far across the room that you have not looked at yourself.
That's good.
And then I have this thing called the core,
Mm-hmm.
and that is my friend group.
Mm-hmm.
My C's, which is very small group of people, is the close people or people that are closest to me.
Mm-hmm.
My O's are the outer ring of the
Mm-hmm.
core. My R are the people that are relatable to me. And then
Mm-hmm.
my E is everybody else. So
Right.
those are three areas, or excuse me, four areas of serving that I do to people. And
Mm-hmm.
those that are in my inner circle, I expect them to tell me about myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love them enough, and I know God has placed people in my life that will check me, correct me,
Mhm.
rebuke me,
Mhm.
teach me, and love me
Yeah,
while I'm going through all of that. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to make a habit of hurting people, but hurt people.
they do.
But healed people also heal
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
And we have to understand that if I am always looking in the mirror or looking outward like a camera, I'm always looking outward at you, and nobody is allowed to look at me. I'm in a toxic relationship with myself.
Ooh, come on, somebody.
I am scared of myself. I'm scared of what the mirror is even going to tell me. So, most
Mhm.
people that are afraid to look at themselves, whether it be through a core or through a set group of people that are assigned to their life to be able
Mhm.
to minister to them, what they're doing and what that tells me is, first of all, I need to stay far away from you
Yeah.
because your accountability meter might be a little off. And that's
Right.
okay. That's how
Mhm.
you choose to live. No judgment. I just choose to stay
Differently.
and
Right.
I choose to live a life a little differently.
Mm.
But what that also says is for me is anybody that's unaware or unavailable to look at themselves in the mirror are refusing to do the work necessary to making their own innards better
Mm.
because we all have things to work on. And if you can't honestly look at yourself and sit with yourself, take yourself to lunch
Mhm.
and have that that solo dolo, as the young people say. Maybe the young
Mhm.
people said that back in my day. Maybe not today. Uh,
That's hilarious.
um, perhaps you're not ready. You're not ready. And we have to just be aware of those people. And if it's us, it's okay. But through this conversation and through the utterance of the Holy Spirit, you don't have to be there. Unlearn what has taught you to not look at yourself. Unlearn what has created the resilience so high in you that you feel that everything is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Unlearn what is burdening you so much that you can't get the help. Unlearn that moment of mirror learn that moment of mirror talk where you
Mm.
look yourself in the eyes and say, God, show me me.
Mm.
Show me me. I say that to God every single day in my prayer, in my devotion.
Mm. Mm.
God, show me me. Because I don't want to be out here a ratchet saint.
Mhm.
I know I can't be perfect, but
Right.
I don't want to be doing stuff that I know is deliberately wrong, hurting myself or others just because I can't see me. So,
Mhm.
God, show me me. And if we more of us could just say, God, show me me, and then sit in meditation enough. Some of us got prayer good, some of us have fasting good, but not enough of us have meditation good, where
Mhm.
we pause intentionally in meditation.
Mhm.
He says, meditate on my word both day and night. We're supposed to meditate and we're
Mhm.
supposed to allow him to pour back into us after we've cried out, poured out, asked God for stuff, cried out. And now we just sit. God, show me me
Mhm.
because I don't want to leave. I don't want to cross this threshold looking anything less than like you need me to for your
Mhm.
people, for
That's
this
good.
world, for creation or kingdom.
That's good. That's good. That pause, that necessary pause in meditation is
Yeah.
what allows us to hear, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We do a
Yeah.
lot of speaking, but in prayer, there's
Yes.
hearing. So that hearing, that
Yes.
meditation. I love that. Dr. Poe, this discussion has been it's been rich, honey. It has been rich.
Oh, go God.
I have
Thank
been
you.
blessed, and I pray that everybody that is viewing and will
Yeah.
view this is as just as blessed as I have been. I am. I have been close enough to your journey, Dr. Poe, to
Mhm.
know that you speak from a sincere, authentic, and
Mhm.
a place of true experience as it pertains to this subject matter. And I know how passionate you are about it. And I know that you do the work and you've done the work and you're doing the work. And that means a lot.
Amen.
So thank
Amen.
you for all that you do through the I Love You movement, through the counseling and the therapy you offer to people. Thank you for being who you are for such a time as this. I believe that God has graced your life and your ministry for what you're doing, and it is very necessary in this earth. and in this
Thank
time
you.
period that we live in. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your presence with us at the well this evening.
Thank
Man,
you.
we gotta get back. We gotta have another conversation because this is just so good.
Yes.
This is so
Oh,
good.
my
So
honor, my
I
humbled
appreciate
honor.
you. Any parting words you have for us before we wrap up tonight?
Don't suffer in silence.
Hmm.
Don't suffer in silence. Um, we just celebrated Easter. God said, most churches celebrated seven last sayings of Christ. Even in those moments, he spoke up and spoke clearly. Some things that really hurt his heart, even in his moment of pain and
Hmm.
agony and suffering. So don't feel like you have to suffer in silence, because if my Christ spoke up, you can speak up too.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Listen, I love you all. I pray that you were blessed by this conversation. I pray that you are well, and if you are not well, you're taking steps toward wellness, not just spiritually, but spiritually.
Yep.
Not just mentally, but mentally as well. In every aspect of your life, we want you to be well at the well. So thank you so much for joining for this conversation. And as I tell you every single time I depart you, be it prayer, be it Bible study, be it anything, I love you and be well and have a good evening.
Love you.